Okay, so I've seen some YouTube videos on self-contained economic systems, and if you don't know what that is, it's like I seen a video with a plants inside a bottle. It's a pretty big bottle, and it was topped off with a cork or whatever. It was sealed off, so it was, inside it didn't had whatever water was inside with the plants already. That watered the plants. The plant's leaves would fall down into the dirt and rot, and that would feed the plants its own self. So the plant survived itself for over 100 years, I think, or 60 years at least. So I thought, alright, what if there were a large self-contained ecosystem that this country music's driving me fucking nuts. Okay, what if there were a large ecosystem large enough to hold in okay, say it was a big case, a big glass case. It could have a camera on it that monitored it, because I want it to be inside a large case that has a generator inside of it, and it like a big, maybe even it could be the size, built the size of a house, and parts and pieces could be took into outer space to be put together. It could be formed down here, and parts and pieces be carted up to space in space shuttles to be pieced together in outer space. So large satellites could be made. Because what I'm thinking is a satellite that has a self-contained ecosystem inside of it, basically for the air to run the generator, for the gas to run inside the generator, with the generator inside of that, so that basically people could they would know, like, say we had a self-contained ecosystem like this with a generator inside of it, with a huge ass barrel of gas, like large enough to supply the generator with gas. It could go hose down into the generator from the gas tank. It kept filling the generator up, so the generator could stay running when it needed to, cut on automatically and cut off with a thing that charged the battery. And the battery would there'd be a voltage meter on the generator, because I've seen generators that do this. They cut on automatically when the voltage on the battery gets to a certain point, but the battery's almost dead, so it cuts the generator on. So the generator and the battery would supply power outside of the inside enclosed self-contained ecosystem. The ecosystem would just live to give air to the generator, so it could run, and then the carbon monoxide put off from the generator would supply the plants with carbon monoxide, which they can handle, because the plant, if it's the right plant, I know scientists study these things, so if it's the right plant, it could be studied and figured out that that plant takes in a lot more carbon monoxide than most plants. So with that generator, the plant would be able to survive in that ecosystem, and the power from the generator would supply the power for the battery, and the battery would run the GPS satellite, which could be put on moons and planets, just a certain amount of surrounding planets around the Earth, up to a certain distance from the Earth, so we could monitor their whereabouts where they're moving through space. When they're going through space, we know exactly how they move, where they're moving, and we could get an idea from the relayed information from the GPS satellites all that relayed information is sent into the satellites that's above the planets on the outer side of the planets, on outside space, like up in the air, like in the outer space around the planets. And then the satellites, that are dishes that are on the planets with the housing like that and everything, could send information to the other satellites that are around the planets that aren't orbiting with them, just stuck in space, to receive the information and send that information down to Earth, or over to I don't know how we could monitor their exact movement without something that's holding still. So basically we'd want satellites around the sun, probably, that are the bigger satellites, probably, that take in the information from all these planets going in circles around the sun. Basically, for when the sun starts to expand, these satellites around the sun would have to be thrusting satellites that could pick up the temperature of the sun. So if they were starting to get hot and the sun started to expand, because we know about what we know about stars, they start to expand after a certain amount of time. So way off in the future, I'll be long gone before then, I already know this, but our kids, I don't know how far off into the future it's going to be, but when the sun does start to expand, we can know, these thrusting satellites could go away from the sun because they heat up. The temperature gauges on them that could read the temperature of the sun, heating them up. They just automatically thrust and expand away from the sun. But while they're there, all the information they're gathering and sending back to Earth, we know where the planets and moons that are within the right area of the planet are moving, and then from that, if we could gather that information, from the satellites, then we could possibly know from what the computers generate on a computer from gathering that information, because it'd probably take, I guess, from the way it looks, the way we've mapped out the stars in our solar system, our planets we already know they move back into a general location. But if we could pinpoint exact locations they are in space when they're moving around with the GPS satellites, then we would know. Okay, say, ever seen a jet plane when they're going, or even getting a truck going down the road, a trucker, like a transfer truck, if you get in their tailwind, that drag pull? Well, I would imagine that if we knew how to blow up maybe our moon or another planet off in the future when we would need to, because we were worrying about, the sun taking our planet and burning it up, then in the future we might know from the GPS satellites when we could blow up our moon or another planet, and from blowing it up, it send Earth out of its gravitational rotation. But we need to know exactly when to blow up a moon or a planet to send Earth going into a tailwind of another moon or planet, so it'd pull it in the gravitational pull, but it'd be further away. Earth would be further away from the sun, so we wouldn't have to worry about Earth burning up from the sun by doing this. And I think I've thoroughly explained this now. It's hard for me to figure out how to explain this because it's kind of complicated. So I hope y'all grasp the idea.